Baldur's Gate 3 has a huge number of magical items, and a shockingly large number of those items can be used for some absolutely insane and sometimes game-breaking effects. But I think there is one item that stands above the rest, or at least above most others, that is one of the most important and powerful items in the game on its own. And it's found in late Act 1 or early Act 2. There isn't really a debate about that, but I want to start one. Anyway, in the background, if you pay attention, you'll see my route to level 3 for Honor Mode. The character you're going to see there is my latest build project, the Defender of the Underdark, which you can see the concept for over on my Discord at the link in the description. It looks like it's going to be a very fun build, but onto the video, let's jump into it. All right, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think the Gloves of Dexterity are probably the single strongest item in the game. There are other item combinations that are stronger, of course, but as a standalone item, the Gloves of Dexterity are absolutely incredible, and at the very least, compete with items like the Helm of Arcane Acuity, Hat of Fire Acuity, Marco Heshkir, and others. Here are a few reasons why. First up, Armor class. Armor class for 3 out of the 4 armor types in the game, that's clothing, light armor, and medium armor, all take at least some of, but often all of your dexterity modifier into account while calculating armor class. That means setting your dexterity to 18 with these gloves gives any character wearing clothing, light armor, or a few medium armors an extra 4 armor class compared to that same character with only 10 dexterity. If you look at the Baldur's Gate 3 wiki linked in the description, at the top of each class guide, there is a section that says which stats are important to a class. On every single class, you will see that dexterity is listed as one of the 3 most important stats, at least for armor class, but sometimes for attacking as well. These gloves single-handedly, or maybe two-handedly, solve that problem by setting your dex modifier to +4, which is very strong. There are no other items in the game outside of full-on armor that can give a character so much armor class. The only other item that gives this much AC on its own is literally obtained by killing after one of the hardest fights in the game. Otherwise, there are very few 3 armor class shields, and nothing else in the game outside of armor gives more than 2 armor class from a single item. This one defensive boost from wearing these gloves makes them a fine pick for quite literally any character that isn't in heavy armor. Casters and dexterity-based martial characters alike can benefit massively from the increased armor class through these gloves. Not to mention, you get +4 to your dex saves compared to a 10 dexterity character, making you more resistant to many damage spells. Next up, similar to armor class, these gloves give a whopping +4 to initiative, because dexterity is not only used for armor class, it's used for initiative as well, meaning every single character in the game, again, benefits from having as much dexterity as you can get them. Initiative in Baldur's Gate 3 is the game system that determines turn order at the beginning of each fight. This turn order is determined by a 4-sided dice roll plus any initiative modifiers the character has, like dexterity, the alert feat, or some items. A simple +4 from having 18 dexterity takes your maximum initiative number from 4 at 10 dexterity to 8. It's a huge bump. For reference, a lot of people think the best feat in the game is the alert feat, which gives a +5 to initiative. This is only +1 less than that. Now, technically, alert would be taken on top of this to give a total of +9, but in my experience at 18 to 20 dexterity, I go first or very early in the turn order quite often, and it hasn't really been a problem. Alert is a little bit overkill, especially with so many other initiative bonuses available, especially the elixirs. Anyway, these gloves are fantastic, providing any character that wears them a solid chance at going first or very early in the turn order. Put these on your strength building characters or a slow caster to make them go much earlier and thus have a much bigger impact earlier in the fight. The third major benefit to these gloves is that dexterity is an offensive stat. Not only does dexterity provide a defensive buff and make you go earlier in the turn order, which is both offensively and defensively advantageous, you can use dexterity to attack with almost every weapon in the game if you take a 1-level dip into Monk. Crossbows, short bows, long bows, hand crossbows, all finesse weapons, all monk weapons if you're a monk, a few select long swords, and even a glaive can all be used with dexterity. Setting your dexterity to 18 means you can dump your dex stat for, say, Constitution to make you super healthy, Or maybe wisdom on a monk to make your unarmored armor class even higher, or maybe even into your casting stat as a paladin, eldritch knight, arcane trickster, bard, ranger cleric, or some funky multi-class setup. But wait, there's still more. Not only do the gloves set your dexterity to 18, they also give you a +1 to attack rolls. That means you aren't getting 18 dexterity and accuracy. You're effectively getting a full 20 dexterity worth of accuracy from these gloves because 2 more dexterity gives you a +1 to attack and damage rolls. Given that the game can easily be completed with just 20 in your main attacking stat for your attack rolls, including on honor mode, getting that much accuracy from your gloves opens up so many options to your character. You can use these gloves with Sharpshooter throughout the game to great effect. You can use them on a Great Weapon Monk. You can use them on a dual-wield Barbarian Ranger. You can put them on as soon as you get them and leave them on until the credits roll because they boost your accuracy to acceptable levels for the entire game. Technically, you would gain some damage from having an actual 20 dexterity, but accuracy is way more valuable than a +1 to damage, and the accuracy from these gloves opens up so many more feat options that you wouldn't otherwise have. Effectively, these gloves give a dexterity-based character access to 2 more feats because you no longer need to boost dex to 20 with an ability score improvement. That is an absurdly strong buff to any character that can use dex as their main stat. There's probably even more about the Gloves of Dexterity that I haven't talked about here, but suffice it to say, these are the single strongest gloves in the game. For any martial character that wants to use dexterity, these are the best gloves you can wear. They give you your main stat and a bump in accuracy to levels you normally need 2 feats to see. They give you solid enough initiative for the entire game, including the hardest fights in the game. They give you more than any other gloves can possibly give you because dexterity is just a brokenly strong stat. For casters, these gloves give increased initiative and armor class, 2 stats that you really want. But a fun fact is that these gloves also increase your spell attack rolls by +1, which makes them great for any caster that's going to make attack rolls. But more than anything else, these gloves open up the options for your build like no others can. I used these on my Blessed Ranger for the entire playthrough, and they were essential to that Shadowheart build. I used these on my Angry Ranger for the entire playthrough to great effect on Karlach during my honor mode run, getting her up to 20 armor class without any armor on. And she had like 140 health after aid thanks to having 20 constitution, which was only possible because of these gloves. And I'm going to use them on so many more builds. If you're interested in the builds that I just mentioned, check out my Discord at the link in the description. I've got 4 builds hosted over there right now, with more to come soon. If you're still here, you obviously liked the video, so consider liking, subscribing, and joining the Discord to chat with other Baldur's Gate 3 players. More Baldur's Gate 3, Elder Scrolls Online, and RuneScape content is on the way. Until then, I'll see you all in the next excuse.